and then we're just going to kick right off. So we have Mark with Fitzgate, we have David with Halo Fund, and we have Milad with Plug and Play Ventures. We also have Gal with Plug and Play Ventures as an off-screen judge. So Daniel, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Dan Meyer. I'm the CEO of CellChorus, a University of Houston spin-out that sells to the life science industry. So many of the new and most effective therapies being developed today are cell-based. So antibodies, T cells, and other immunotherapies are different traditional drugs. And they require techniques that evaluate cells and evaluate thousands of cells and do so in order to develop and manufacture the best and predict responses. And while there have been significant advances in single-cell analysis in recent years, there remains a large gap evaluating the dynamics of cells, and particularly doing so at scale. So there's two things to think about when you're evaluating cells. The first is that cells are always changing. So in order to do what they need to do and be successful, they need to move, they need to interact with other cells, and so we need to evaluate what's happening over time. And the second important thing is that in any given population of cells, there are going to be differences. So it's not sufficient for us to evaluate a small number of cells, and it's not sufficient for us to evaluate a large number of cells in bulk. We need to evaluate a large number of cells individually. So this is what CellChorus does. So we take therapeutic cells and disease cells, and we put them on our chip that has on the order of 10,000 little wells the size of a human hair. And then we take pictures of each well over set time points. So in frame B on the left, you see 3 red cancer cells and 1 manufactured green T cell. And then to the right, at a later time point, you see 2 of those cancer cells are bright purple. And that's indicative of the fact that they've undergone cell death. And so these are just 2 frames of a video, and that's just one video of thousands. And so it doesn't make sense for us to hire 100 PhDs to each watch 1,000 videos and then sit around in a room and talk about what happened. That'd be like every day watching all of Netflix. It just doesn't make sense. So what we do is we use artificial intelligence algorithms to watch the movies for us. And so, there are some very basic statistics we pull out, like, do the therapeutic cells move? Do they come into contact with other cells? Do they kill those cells? But there are dozens and dozens of things we can evaluate about the shape, the size, and other elements of cell morphology. And importantly, we can grab the cells of interest to conduct further analysis. So at the end of an experiment with CellChorus, the cells are nice and happy in their incubator and available to be plucked for additional analysis. So we're complementary to all of the other technologies. So the platform, I mentioned we're a spin out from the University of Houston from the Single Cell Lab. The platform has strong scientific validation, including more than 15 peer publications across a range of cell types. And we also have initial commercial validation. So we have 2 very strong public biopharma companies that we're working with on a customer basis. Our big challenge as it relates to those relationships is that we just don't have enough capacity to even meet the demand for those 2 companies. So a key capital need is to open a new lab so that we can sign new customers. Our intellectual property approach is comprehensive and certainly includes patents that we've licensed from U of H, including one that issued in August. But at least as important are the barriers of entry that comes from our trade secrets, know-how, data, and the algorithms that have been trained based on prior experiences. So our market is cell analysis, and it's a large, growing, attractive market. The large companies, the leaders in that industry, are known to acquire for growth. There are a lot of attractive things about this market, but particularly important for us is that the single cell segment is driving more than half the growth, and that growth is 2 to 3 times faster than the rest of cellular analysis. So it's a really attractive market for us. So I've spent the vast majority of my career in healthcare and life sciences at early stage companies and early stage venture funds. Most recent of those, I was the COO and a board member of Genospace, which was funded by Thomson Reuters and acquired by HCA, which is not only the largest hospital system in the U.S., but is also a clinical trial leader in a majority of the approved cancer therapies that come to market in the U.S. Our CSO is a leader in developing cellular technologies for immunotherapy, and our head scientist has years of experience running our platform. So we have the team to execute. Our biggest challenge is that we just can't meet demand from our existing customers, nonetheless new customers. So we need to open a dedicated lab, and that's not only to grow revenue, also to support the launch of new products, including an instrument that we could sell to other labs. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We're going to pass it over to our judges now to kick off the Q&A. We have 7 minutes.
All right, I'll start, David and Milad, if that's all right. So Dan, since you all are not great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Exciting company. Since you all are not yourselves developing therapeutics, is there any kind of FDA approval process required for your tech?
Great question. No, we're not required to get FDA approval or clearance. There are, in future years, there are some additional revenue opportunities that are not part of our plan that might involve us being part of another company's FDA approval, but fundamentally, no, we do not require approval from FDA or clearance, and we also don't require reimbursement from CMS or another payer.
Good, thanks.
And just from me, by the way, great presentation.
Thank you.
I guess I was curious about the genesis story here. How did you begin working on this project? Pulling the team together. What's kind of the story behind the company?
So the technology was developed at U of H, and there was a lot of interest from commercial partners of access to the technology. So, it's one of these situations where, in addition to knowing there's a need, knowing there's demand before you form the company, is a good position to be in. So it is really based around the network that the founders have in the industry and hearing from customers that this is a need and they would like to have access to the technology.
And can you describe what are the unique aspects of the technology? Is it the chip? Is it the imaging? Is it some kind of machinery? Is it the AI? What's unique about what you have?
Yeah, thank you, David. Good question. So there are a lot of elements that are important for what we do. If I were to rank order the list, the two things that are up top are, number one, how you bring everything together, and number two, it's our experience running the algorithms and training the algorithms and knowing how to direct them. This isn't just a situation of downloading TensorFlow and clicking a button. So the experience that we've had and the head start that we have is important, but also knowing how.
So Dan, you said that the technology was a spin out of Houston. So you have an exclusive license from U of H?
We do, yes. And I put in the presentation the highlights of the portfolio. The two most notable elements are two patents that we've exclusively licensed, one of which issued in August. Or we received the notice earlier in the year, but it formally issued in August.
And so does U of H, do they have an ongoing, are they an equity owner in the company, or they have an ongoing royalty, without being specific?
It's a pretty typical license arrangement. I think technically it's a confidential agreement, so I have to be a little careful, but it's a pretty typical arrangement, and they've been very supportive.
Okay.
Dan, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, David.
In terms of what your customers or expected customers are focusing on, is it mainly, you believe, oncology? And maybe you could talk about the stage of work the customers are doing where they would be interested in your tech?
Yeah, excellent question. So fundamentally, we're a microscopy-based platform, which means that we're broadly applicable to different therapeutic areas, technology types, et cetera. The team has a lot of experience in oncology, and oncology is a very active area in the market today. So in the near term, I think we will have a majority of our activity in oncology, which wouldn't be a surprise relative to other companies sort of in the market. But fundamentally, we're applicable to a lot of different cell types, technology types, and disease areas. So one of the papers featuring an early version of the timing platform is in infectious diseases, and we're doing some work internally infectious diseases, and expect over the coming year to start bringing on initial customers in new indications, so that we can have our spears into different markets.
So, you mentioned the need to open up your own dedicated lab. I'm curious what your, fundraising goals are for the near future, and also, how much you think you'd need to raise in order to open up these new labs, and future expenditures you might need just on the near-term horizon.
Yeah, excellent question. Thank you. So there are two really good things about opening the new lab. The first is that in addition to Houston being a great place to do it for all the activity that's happening in the area and life sciences. So the first thing is that we will be using substantially similar equipment, supplies, processes, procedures, et cetera, that are used today to run the platform. So in that respect, it's very mature. And the second thing is that, we're a revenue stage company. So that means that we need less than $1 million in order to open and staff that lab, comfortably less than $1 million.
And just following up on Milad's question, so in terms of future fundraising needs, what do you anticipate after this round?
So the most substantial capital needs after this round are going to be for new products. So as we extend into an instrument-based model, and then we have a couple other products in development, which unfortunately we can't talk about now. So part of this round will be used to develop those prototypes and to spec out what it'll take to get to a past an alpha or beta and then into a full commercial instrument. But for that effort, this is on the continuum of research to engineering. This is much of an engineering project because the components are already known. And so we don't feel that we need, we feel that we already have a spec for that instrument. And so, we're talking about single-digit $1 million in order to a full commercial instrument.
We have 27 seconds.
And did you say how long to get to the instrument?
I did not, and we're working on that.
Okay.
But you have a product in the market now that's generating some revenue?
Yeah, so today we receive samples from customers and operate on a fee-for-service basis, and that will be an important element of our revenue for years to come.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dan. Good timing, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a few minutes before we have our next company to pitch. So in these few minutes, I'm just always going to let one of the judges tell the crowd a little bit more about their fund and what they're doing. But I guess I should have also introduced myself at the beginning as the emcee of the event. I'm Samantha Lewis. I'm a principal at Mercury Fund, formerly the investment director at Goose Capital. So David, you're the lucky guy. You want to tell us a little bit about you and Halo Fund?
Sure. So yeah, I'm with Texas Halo Fund. It's an early stage fund. It's called Texas Halo Fund. We invest nationally. We're early stage, so companies that are valued in the range 1.5 million. Probably the limit on a first investment would be 8 or 9 million. We have 4 directors: myself, Kevin King, Rob Tucci, and Ira Doolin. There's no vertical kind of theme. We invest in a lot of life science deals, a lot of software, tech, consumer. Really, we're no thematic orientation. We're currently raising our 4th fund. The funds are relatively small as VC goes, but rightly sized for this asset class. Around $5 to $10 million each.
Awesome. Thank you, David. It's been fun to see how many companies y'all are able to touch at Halo Fund with your model over the years.
Thank you. It's been a lot of for sure.
Okay, so let's move on. Now we have Dheeraj with FINBOA. Go ahead and share your screen and go for it.
All right, can you hear me okay? Yep. All right, so
Yes, you're good.
there are 10,000 banks and credit unions in the United States, and they all have the same problem. They all must comply with regulations issued by FDIC, OCC, CFPB, and other government and non-government agencies. FINBOA simplifies compliance and reduces staffing challenges using process automation. We have 61 banks and credit unions that actively use our software nationwide. Over 75% of the banks use manual processes to manage compliance. The impact of non-compliance can be fines and regulatory findings that can limit the bank's growth. The problem is magnified with the explosive growth in digital transactions that accelerated even further with COVID-19. Keeping up with compliance is very hard and very expensive. Multiple systems are involved, making it expensive and hard to create an end-to-end digital solution. Core systems are specialized, so off-the-shelf solutions require costly customizations. The staff is highly specialized in specific regulations and requires ongoing training. The high level of training reduces the staff mobility of the organization. Regular and comprehensive audits are time-consuming and stressful. I would bet almost everyone in this room has heard a banker complain about their audits. Banks manage compliance in one of three ways. They create spreadsheet-based processes to connect paper forms and back-end ERP systems. These solutions are time-consuming, resulting in a bad customer experience. Banks may also outsource a solution to third-party vendors. Outsourced solution providers do very little to automate the process. Banks can also buy specialized software. Well, these solutions are partially digitized, partially automated, and expensive to maintain. Ultimately, existing solutions drive up costs, increase losses, increase regulatory risk, and reduce the bank's ability to grow. FINBOA is the first end-to-end process automation platform. FINBOA has bank-specific integrations and pre-built banking solutions like Reg E dispute tracking, ACH origination, risk analytics, and legal case management. As an example, users of FINBOA Reg E dispute tracking solution see a 90% drop in the time to process a claim, a 26% drop in the claim losses, an 80% drop in the time to prepare for an audit. With FINBOA, banks can improve the customer experience, eliminate manual steps, and simplify expensive audits. Process automation is a massive market. Every major corporation has initiatives to automate and digitize manual processes that are time-consuming and negatively impact customers. FINBOA's initial focus is banks, but we see opportunities in schools, healthcare, and insurance. Our approach is to pre-build solutions that every institute needs and deliver it on our SaaS platform. FINBOA has a fantastic team that can deliver on our promise. My name is Dheeraj, Singal, founder of FINBOA. I have 30 years experience delivering financial solutions to banks and businesses. David Hunkley is our sales and revenue growth advisor. Dave mentored us at RevTech Labs and has grown our sales pipeline threefold since he joined us. John Griffin has been instrumental in improving our solutions and reducing time to onboard customers. And Kathleen Lasko leads our marketing and demand generation. FINBOA has achieved customer traction and continues to grow organically. Our growth is accelerating. Our last 2 quarters were the best since we went live in 2018. We are also seeing interest from bank core technology providers to partner with us. We are looking for a lead investor who shares our passion for process automation. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I look forward to taking your questions and sharing our story.
Thank you. Can you stop sharing your screen now so that the videos are large for everyone to see?
Sure.
And judges, kick it off.
I'll go first. So Roger, you're currently at about $500,000 ARR?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you talk about how you acquire customers and what the yield rate is on that? I mean, it seems like there are a lot of banks that would need what you're doing, but getting in front of them seems like a challenge.
That's correct. We have a direct sales model right now. What we've been working on is continue to build out our product. What we found is now that we have a leading edge product, banks, core providers, so there's the banking industry has these ERP systems that are core solution providers. Some of them have, I guess, light versions of these compliance solutions. And what they're finding is those solutions are not meeting their bank's needs. So now they're kind of coming to us and talk to us about partnering and using our solutions as a way to kind of track their customers. So we're in conversations with about 3 different core technology providers that have solutions, but are looking at our solution as an additional add-on to their solutions.
Okay. But currently, how have you been acquiring the customers? Is it do they find you? Do you somehow contact directly, or
yes, it's
a successful way?
We get probably about 5 to 10 inbound leads a month, but then we also have a direct team that's reaching out, so dialing for dollars. And typically we find that most of our deals are coming from the inbound leads are pretty good. So the more we can build on that through our marketing efforts, those are the cheapest leads. But then the outbound leads are also generating pretty good results.
Thank you.
So following up on sales, just since, at this stage, I think that's probably the most important area to focus on for you. What's your average sales cycle from, a lead being developed to actually closing a contract?
Sure. So it can be as quick as 2 weeks, depending on how what the need is at the bank, and typically need is driven by a specific challenge that the bank is facing. Maybe they got a bad audit, maybe something, the customer complained too much or something. So it can happen really quickly, but typically we see anywhere from 45 to 90 days.
Okay, and it looked like from one of the slides that your average contract value is $20,000 or so. Was that right, or I couldn't tell exactly?
So currently it's right around 8,000 to 9,000 because we had a bunch of our initial customers that we had really low pricing for. So we've been driving the prices up. So we introduced our enterprise model in 2020. We've seen some of the large institutions really go towards the enterprise model. We've even got some customers in what we call an enterprise plus model, where they're paying upwards of $40,000 to $60,000 a year. So we're starting to see some interest at that level for institutions that do, maybe 1,000 plus to maybe 4,000 claims a month. So they have very specific needs around reporting. So that model kind of caters to a little more of a, like I guess you would call it, exception reporting model. So we kind of help them build out a little bit more on the back end reporting side of it.
So would your target? What would your target annual contract value be for these customers?
So right now it's about $20,000 a year.
That's your target. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess switching gears a little bit, in terms of your potential markets, obviously exploring the U.S. a lot, are there other sectors, other regions that you'd be interested in, or do you have a narrow focus to begin with?
Yeah, so again, we don't want to boil the ocean. So our leads in the banking sector right now and a few specific regulations. But our whole goal is to build a platform that you can build compliance solutions relatively easily, relatively quickly. So we've got solutions pre-built. We have a solution library that we're kind of having maybe different versions of the solution. So even in regular dispute tracking, for smaller banks, they have a very basic requirement. For larger institutions, they may have a little bit more complex requirement. So we have a library that we can just roll out the entire solution depending on that need. So the idea is to kind of build those solutions for banking, health sector, maybe schools, and even the insurance industry.
Right. I was going to ask about insurance. Makes sense.
In fact, insurance is really interesting because there's a lot of, I guess, smaller insurance companies that don't have the automations. And we're actually working with a few of those to kind of build out a insurance claim platform.
Got it. And I guess
a 2-minute warning. Just wanted to let you know.
Got it. Thank you. And then on the platform side of things, obviously there's a lot of legacy systems, a lot of I'm sure a lot of these smaller banks are using spreadsheets and so forth to manage this, but where do you see the competition in terms of other startups, other technology solutions, and how do you differentiate?
I think it's really the depth of the solution that really keeps competitors at bay. We've seen some competitors come in, new competitors come in, but their challenge is they can't do an end-to-end digitization of the project process. So what that means is maybe they've got the compliance figured out, but they don't have the customer experience or digital signature piece figured out. They don't have the ERP integration figured out where you're posting credits and debits to the ERP system. So the solution is maybe 70-80% of the full process. So we're trying to go 100% of the whole process to kind of really lead the way instead of just have part of the process automated.
Raj, is the pricing the same for regardless of the size of the bank or the scale of the bank's operations?
So smaller banks are struggling with that 20K figure. So the way we are trying to attract the smaller banks is by introducing more solutions that they would need. So for example, larger institutions would pay 20K for just a Reg E system because their needs are that much. Smaller institutions would pay 20K for like maybe 5 or 6 different solutions that we could build out. So it's really a function of building those additional solutions out to drive the small institutions to that price point.
I see.
Do you have any sort of intellectual property protection or any other kind of competitive moat?
At this point, we really haven't looked at that. We've kind of just been in kind of development and customer acquisition mode. More customer acquisition mode based on the amount of money we're spending in that area. So we really haven't looked at IP protection much recently at all.
Right.
Okay, we have about 5 seconds.
Well, thank you for your time, everybody. Hopefully we'll make it to the next round.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
A bunch. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Okay. Now up the lucky guy that gets to talk about your fund. Milad, you want to go?
Sure, yeah, happy to. So yeah, just real quick, my name is Milad, of course, and at Plug and Play Ventures, you can see behind me here. That's not my wall, that's a virtual background, but basically at Plug and Play, we're up to a lot of things. Really I boil it down into 10 areas. One is investments, and then the other is our innovation platform. In terms of investments, we're very much early stage, pre-seed, seed, Series A. We write pretty small checks, just taking minor percentage of equity in the rounds we're participating in, but we're extremely active across pretty much every sector or industry. In 2019 alone, for example, I think we did well over 200 investments. And then on the innovation platform side, we essentially work to connect startups with major corporations, even government entities for business development opportunities, pilots, POCs, and so forth, and help to provide a lot of strategic value for the companies that we invest in, as well as others.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have about 1 more minute, so can you just tell us what really brought you all to Houston? Because I know you guys have entered the ecosystem in the past few years, and
yeah,
your thought on Houston.
No, absolutely. So just in the past 6, 7, maybe 8 years, Plug and Play has really kind of expand out into different sectors where we see interest in kind of building innovation hubs and programs for startups and providing value. And in Houston in particular, we saw a great opportunity in a lot of sectors ranging from energy to health to logistics, and there's a very large port, for example. And so and obviously a lot of vibrant interesting technology solutions that are being built up in the area. So A couple of years ago, we really kind of decided to put our boots on the ground and kick something off. And we've been working with several partners there to help us grow and to help hopefully add some value to the ecosystem and connect people there with others that we know around the world as well.
Well, thank you. It's been really impactful, and it's time. So Chris with Galen Data, welcome.
Can you hear me okay, guys?
We can hear you. If you'll just share your screen and go ahead and kick off.
All right, you'll be able to see my screen?
We can see it. You have 5 minutes.
All right. First, let me thank you all for coming. I know you guys are busy. I appreciate your time. My name is Chris DuPont. I'm the CEO of Galen Data. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Most medical devices today are not connected to the internet. I always like to repeat that for emphasis. Most medical devices today are not connected to the internet. Galen Data is starting to change that. Galen Data is a configurable, scalable, FDA-compliant software platform that makes it easy to connect medical devices to an FDA-compliant cloud, and we do that at a fraction of the cost and schedule, along with providing a host of other services. But there's a problem. When a medical device manufacturer makes the decision to connect today, they only want a real viable solution. They have to go out and spend 9 months and $500,000 to build a one-off custom solution. And that's just for the design and development. That doesn't include the operational cost, which can be considerable. And there's also risk with any new software system. We usually don't get the bugs out until version 3. Time is the true test of maturity of software. How do we know this? We were in the business of building these FDA-compliant clouds. There was a problem in the medical device industry. We're coming to us to help solve these problems, and we were able to solve them for $500,000 a pop. There was another problem in the same industry in that early stage companies were coming to with very innovative technology, and they couldn't afford that $1 million price. We live in a connected world. Medical devices will have to be connected to be competitive. And so on one hand, we're solving a problem. On another hand, we weren't able to solve a problem. So what we did was we created a data software platform. You build it once and you use it 10,000 times. It doesn't matter the type of medical device. You simply create a data model using our drag and drop interface, and you can be connected to the Galen cloud in days. Vision one of the Galen cloud was to build the platform and get devices connected. We have done that, and we will continue to do it. The real opportunity in Vision 2 of Galen was to use analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence as we build out these data lakes from these devices and be able to predict when that ball bearing will fill in that heart pump. And the real exciting opportunity is what I like to say, help improve the human condition. Use these same analytics, not just to look at devices, but to look at digital patient data and possibly predict that next cancer event. Vision 2, unbounded, and that's the real opportunity of Galen. Our achievements, we launched our product in 2018. We are post-revenue. We target all sizes of the medical device industry, from the very innovative to the medium to the largest of the large. We have several multi-billion-dollar companies on the platform today, and we're international. We have many international companies on the platform today. We have a U.S. and international patent filed, and we've been going through the office action now. One way, just one of the many ways we meet the FDA compliance is through our ISO 13485 certification. It's a global recognized standard, and Galen had certification within a year of operation. We also operate and design as a FDA Class 3 medical device company. We have a sales funnel with 7 distinct stages. We have over 1,000 leads in our CRM system, and we're maturing our sales process each month. We're very fortunate. The Texas Cellular Fund joined our team after about 3 to 4 months of hard due diligence, but they've been a great team member ever since. They're helping grow the company, and Kevin King is on our board. We've established inbound and outbound marketing channels. We started a drip campaign. We're creating mind share. We're creating a web of influence, bringing potential medical device companies to the Galen platform. How do we do that? We do webinars the third Tuesday of every month, interlaced with podcasts. We publish blogs at a cadence of twice a month concerning cybersecurity. Our next one, the one we just published, was on the new medical device standards in California, and our next webinar is on IP for medical devices. I can't afford a high-dollar marketing firm, so what we do, we engage the companies that are on the platform, the ones that allow us to talk about, and we do press releases. The only common denominator across these companies, they're all medical device. Other than that, they're not common in that they're bringing very, very unique medical device innovation to the industry. One of the things Galen believes in is giving back, and we have limited resources now, But one of the things we always did was open up a Rolodex and make introductions. We formalized that in something we call the medical device partner ecosystem. So if you need electrical test station, clinical, regulatory, firmware, we now have a page that helps with that. So please take a look at that. According to Deloitte, our total addressable connected medical device, not medical device, connected medical device is 52 billion. Our direct addressable market is 24 billion. Our business model is very, very simple. We're a SaaS model. We charge $6,000, $8,000, or $10,000 a month and a one-time onboarding fee of $25,000. We're predicting a SaaS revenue in 2023 of 13 million with profit of 8 million. There's a company in this very track today called Spark Biomedical. They're a customer. Yes.
We need to start transitioning to Q&A. If you'll just take a few seconds if you want to finish your thought.
Yeah, so there's a company in our track, Spark Biomedical. They're a Galen customer. They received their clearance about 3 weeks ago. Very innovative, and they're helping babies. And for the next 5 people that email sales@galendata.com, we'll send you a shirt with Spark in the subject. Thank you.
Okay, will you remove your screen share, please? Okay, judges, take it away.
Well, so since David's fund is I'm expecting him to ask some really hard questions, but I'll start with the softball. Just a product question. When I think about connecting medical devices to the cloud, I'm thinking about like a implantable device connected to the cloud. And I would think that security would be incredibly important. I mean, if someone could hack into a pacemaker that's installed in someone's body through your cloud, that could obviously be a company-ending event. So how do you all handle security?
So we do have implantable devices on the platform, and we get that question a lot. So the question is there a risk of connectivity? The answer is absolutely yes. But I think there's a far, far greater risk in not having connectivity. There's no equivalent of the check engine light on a medical device. So if you have a son and he discharges his EpiPen, wouldn't you want to know about it? If that medical device starts to fail or the drugs get low on it, wouldn't you want to know? And so we are experts at this. We've been building these for a long time. One of the ways we de-risk is that we're a read-only system. And so we just pull information from the medical device and display it. We don't change the RPMs in a heart pump or anything like that. We do external pen testing. We'll have our high trust certification by September. Yes, we take cybersecurity very, very seriously, and we're actively monitoring it all the time.
All right, so hardball question. When the company enters your sales funnel, what has your experience been about the probability that it winds up with a paying relationship?
Yeah, so we're creating attributes, defining. We have 7 distinct stages. As you go through those stages, one stage is NDA being signed, another stage is a demo, another stage we send out a template of the SaaS contract and we go to legal. When we get to stage 7, we have a 100% closure rate. The challenge to us is having those predictors, and we're refining those predictors all the time. Our sales cycle is less than 5 months from voice contact to SaaS contract signage, but we're working very, very hard on defining attributes and improving the predictability as you come into stage 1. What will the likelihood of that lead going out to stage 7?
So Chris, first off, thank you for the presentation. And I guess my first question is, you alluded to this a bit earlier on, but what's the onboarding process, look like for your customers? It's a bit of a, I think, decently hefty fee for the onboarding, right? Like 2 to 2.5 months, worth on the price point. So yeah, how long does that process take? And yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, as we go through this, the goal, and we're achieving this, is that Galen wants to be a self-servicing platform. Now, with that being said, we have real customers. We've gone through real onboarding experiences, and we've learned that not all onboarding is linear. We've done onboarding with a customer that only requires 2 hours of our time. Some require a few more hours. But in a matter of days, a medical device company can have their device connected to the Galen platform. We have done it in less than 2 hours. We say 2 weeks as a default, but realistically, if it's a good technical team, you can have your device up and running in a matter of days. That's a lot better than 9 months and $500,000.
Sure. So are you selling primarily to medical device manufacturers? Is that your end customer?
We are exclusively selling to medical device manufacturers.
So I would think that the really big companies, Medtronic and Abbott and Boston Scientific and I guess former St. Jude Health, that they would have their own sort of internal team, their own internal platform. Is that not the case?
It is the case, and we have those customers on our platform. And so the use case is it takes 2 years. I was in a class 3 development environment, implantable development. It took us 2 years to develop product. There's lost opportunity. And so, yes, the Medtronics, the Guidance, the St. Jude's have the money. I talked to a company that budgeted $2 million just for their own internal cloud. Why spend $2 million when you can get on our platform in a lot less than 2 years, 2 weeks, at a fraction of the cost? Plus, if you're an existing medical device company with a connected solution and you redeploy that new therapy, you're not going to pollute an existing commercial operation. We have gotten a established medical device company up and running in less than 4 months. They could never do that on their own.
So they don't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
1 minute and 40 seconds.
So they don't have their own internally developed cloud that they share amongst the medical devices, the thousands of medical devices they create, Medtronic?
No, it doesn't work that way. You have to associate a medical device with cloud solution and then repeat that for the next therapy, So if you have a sleep apnea machine, that's one cloud solution. If you have a pain stimulator, that's one cloud solution.
Good.
Chris, what's the current revenue run rate? What's your current revenue run rate?
Yeah, can I make that a private discussion, David?
Okay.
Our competitors are listening to this, so I'd like to keep I'm happy to share that information in a private call. I'm not comfortable sharing it publicly.
Okay.
But we are post-revenue. We made money in October. We're in a raise right now. And, we built this platform, and now we're growing the company.
So what is the capital going to be used for this raise?
So our biggest problem, nobody knows about us, and we have leads, then we can work. And so the capital, 70% of the capital is going on sales and marketing.
And how is the fee that you charge to the medical device manufacturers, is it time or is it an ongoing charge?
So the $6,000, $8,000, or $10,000 per month is a recurring revenue cost on a saddle. The onboarding fee is a one-time cost.
And can the manufacturers pass that through to customers?
Of course.
Okay. I think of medical devices as being one-time charges, but there are ongoing components. Okay.
We have that beauty of the recurring revenue, and it's highly profitable. Our profit margins are 75%, 85% at scale.
Thanks, Chris. Time's up.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, so we have a few minutes before our next is up. So Mark, you're up. Tell us everything we want to know.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so Mark Poag, I am a co-founder and managing director of a fund called Fitzgate Ventures. My business partner, Jim Cohen, and I started the fund back in 2015 and started investing in 2016 with we're a network-driven fund with a particular focus on the Princeton University ecosystem. But since Jim and I both live here in Houston, we're also focused on the Houston and Texas entrepreneurial ecosystems as well. We write checks of initial checks of $500K and reserve for follow-on, and we're industry agnostic. One of our differentiators and part of our secret sauce is we have this group we call Friends of Fitz, which is composed of a little over 200 Princeton professors and alumni who help us find companies and then importantly help those companies grow once we make an investment. So we've invested in 19 companies across industries and have about 25 million under management.
Yes, and you also teach a class at Rice University. How many students have y'all had over the few years?
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, we're very proud of that. So this is our third year teaching a class on venture capital at Rice to undergrad and MBA students. It's really a fun class where we all the students have taken a prerequisite and they come and they take our class and we let them listen to entrepreneurs pitch live and then they make real investment decisions about those companies. I love Rice.
Thanks, Mark. Well, I also, I'm biased. Okay, so it looks like it's time to kick off the next pitch. We have Scott logging in now. Scott is with HTX Labs. Scott, can you please share your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you have
Okay.
5 minutes.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. As Samantha said, my name is Scott Schneider. I'm the CEO and co-founder of HTX Labs. So we're a Houston-based software company, and we are building the next generation learning platform. So let's jump right into the problem. So the problem we're trying to address is that traditional training methods simply don't work, especially if you're learning mission-critical skills that require hands-on training. And the reason is hands-on training really doesn't scale. So looking at the learning pyramid kind of instructs us on how people learn. People remember 10 to 30% of what they didn't hear. At the other end of the spectrum, people remember 90% of what they actually do. So in order to really understand and learn critical skills, we've got to do the real thing. And this is where immersive technology comes into play. If we can increase retention levels to levels of 90%, 95%, that can translate into millions of dollars in productivity gains and significant reductions in safety incidents. So what's the solution? The solution has to drive retention. It has to be scalable. It has to be safe, and it has to be cost effective. If we want to achieve high retention at scale, we need to look at technologies like virtual reality and augmented reality. We believe that immersive technology is a natural progression from computer-based training and e-learning that we all experience today. So imagine sitting in your office or at home and popping into a headset and being able to be in a cockpit as a U.S. Air Force pilot, learning and practicing emergency procedures or takeoffs and landings. Imagine being a petrochemical worker, sitting at home or in your office, but actually being in a full refinery, doing a safety walk or orienting yourself to that facility. This is about learning in the flow of work anytime, anywhere. So what's the market opportunity? It's significant. In 2019, $169 billion was spent on corporate training just in North America. If you look at that globally, $370 billion was spent. If we look at the forecasted investment in VR and AR training in 2020, it's projected to be over $4 billion. And the global VR market expected to be $62 billion by 2027. But let's be clear, this is an incredibly young market. It's an emerging market. It's still in its infancy, and there are, frankly, no clear leaders in this space. It's a fragmented market, so we believe that HTX Labs is well positioned to fill a leadership role in the immersive learning market. So let's look at the technology that we developed. We have built a platform that we call Impact, and it really fundamentally allows our customers to do 3 things. One is create immersive content. The second is to learn from that immersive content and experience it in a way that hasn't been possible before. And the third is to measure the effectiveness and the outcomes, which is incredibly important with new technology to really understand the efficacy. So let's break that down a little bit. Impact Studio is our no-code content authoring tool. And this allows instructors, subject matter experts to go into a fully immersive 3D environment, record themselves, and create a lesson from that. And we're recording everything they're saying, they're doing, they're looking at, they're interacting with, and that's codified as a lesson. Next, students can then download that from our cloud-based content management system and experience that in one of several ways. You can experience third person, where you're in a 3D environment watching the instructor, kind of think about YouTube, or you can actually embody the instructor and learn first person from the instructor. And as I mentioned, lastly, we need to measure the outcomes. So we basically record everything that's happening that the student is doing and compare that to the instructor to really understand the outcomes and the performance. So what's our competitive advantage? We spent the last 4 years and over $4 million of public and private funding to build this technology. And we've solved the hard stuff. The next step is to commercialize this as part of go-to-market strategy. It's battle tested, literally. The U.S. military right now, the U.S. Air Force, is using Impact to train their pilots and aircraft maintainers. So it's military tested and military trusted. And lastly, it's on a solid foundation of best-in-class commercial-grade technology. Partners like Microsoft, Epic Games, the Unreal Engine that's Fortnite is built upon. So we built a best-in-class technology. And lastly, our team. We've got over 125 years on the founding team around enterprise software. And so we've combined that enterprise software capability with a team of amazing game developers and artists to build the learning platform of the future. And we're doing it today. Thank you for your time and attention. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, very prompt. Thank you. You actually have
right on 5 minutes?
You have 33 seconds if there's anything else you'd like to say before Q&A.
No, happy to take questions and understand more what the investor community is looking for.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can you remove your screen share, please?
I can.
Okay, judges, take it away.
So first question, how do you think about, marketing and sales and your customer outreach?
Right, great question. We've tried that several times. And right now, frankly, we are focused in 2021 on building out our commercial platform. So we've got enough contracts in hand. And so we're really taking advantage of that opportunity in 2021 to build the rest of our capabilities to launch really at the end of 2021, early 2022. So we're not doing a lot of demand gen. Like I said, we've got a good customer base and we're really working those opportunities to build out the rest of our platform.
Scott, after you record, capture the instructor experience, how much effort, cost, and time is required to make that ready for students?
No cost, almost no time. Simply when you're done, you literally go into a VR experience with our platform. You hit record, you do your thing, you stop recording, and you're immediately able to basically build that into a course. So from an instructional design perspective or a course creator perspective, you're able to package that, publish it to our platform, and within minutes, a student can then put on a headset or a tablet or a desktop for scalability and go through that experience. So there's no real time in post-processing.
So even like the measurement aspects, like tracking the performance of the student, that's somehow automated or
that's
deferred?
You bet. That's automated because when the instructor's in the headset, we're capturing telemetry. So in 3 dimensions, we're capturing everything they do. And then when the student goes in there, we're doing the same thing, and think about just kind of doing a diff. And so we're looking at the time between steps, where the hands were, where the eyes were looking. So if you're looking at the wrong location, all of that is captured, and we're able to basically diff those and understand where the challenges are from an analytics perspective.
How do you
go ahead? Sorry, Dave.
Go ahead.
So how do you charge for your? Is it purely software or is it services as well?
It's software and services. Right now, It is largely a services play because we've spent several years building up the IP. Our like I said, our mission for 2021 and early 2022 is to convert that into more of a full SaaS subscription model. A lot of our contracts right now are government contracts, so it's a lot of SBIR funds that are non-dilutive capital to build out the platform. But we will get to the point where we are charging basically an access fee to the platform.
Just a question. Do your customers, do they have, you just assume that they've got VR headsets, or do you resell them, and do you work across headset platforms?
You bet. Yeah, we support all of the major platforms from the Oculus Quest 2 up through HTC, HP, Vario. So from the low end portable all the way up to the high end, we've also added, like I said, support for tablets. Obviously, different interaction model, less immersion, addresses that kind of scalability. So we don't resell software or hardware. We don't sell the hardware. We have relationships with Facebook, Oculus, and HTC and Vario, and so we kind of facilitate that transaction. More and more of our customers actually have VR equipment, but that is something that's been changing over the past kind of 12 to 18 months in a good way.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the typical experience you'll build is centered around more like field work, or like industrial activities, or are there other types of training that you also are seeing that your customers want?
You bet. I mean, I think challenges with immersive technology is that the application use cases are just too broad. So as a startup, we've tried to really focus. So we're not going after soft skills training and things like that. We've tried. It's a whole other business. Our sweet spot is really around those mission critical skills, hands-on training, whether that's doing maintenance on a F-16 or flying an F-16 or things similar to that. The petrochemical, doing safety walks, procedural training, how do you start up a boiler or whatever, those kind of things that are generally easy to codify, using an expert and procedural training.
Hey,
Got it. And
2-minute warning, just FYI.
Gotcha.
Just as a follow-up there, Scott, so obviously there are, other companies also exploring, VR for, these types of training. Is the unique value proposition that you have centered around kind of that whole platform and the ability to easily create new training experiences, or what do you think is kind of the really, I guess, unique point that stands out here?
Yeah, I mean, the special sauce is the content authoring. Nobody's going to be able to address and meet the demand for content creation. So, and we don't want to have a 5,000 person studio where we're just building experiences. We did that for the first couple of years. That allowed us to really kind of understand the capabilities that are required in a platform. So this content is king. Without content, nobody's about a platform, and vice versa. So our mission is to build the tool to allow others to create that content. So the special sauce is the content authoring tool. We think that's where the real valuation is, the real value to our customers. The platform in terms of content management, upload, download, that's kind of table stakes at this point.
Is that where the IP is too?
Yeah. Yeah, the IP is in the platform, and it's in content authoring.
Sorry, it seems like this would be ideal for cases where the student needs to exactly replicate what instructor did, but you can't extend that to like free-form situations, like go into the plant and we're going to give you a problem and figure out what to do, right? Does it work for that?
Well, I think it could work for that. I mean, part of this is, so it's not just rigid procedural training where you've got to do this. We can certainly incorporate the kind of the if-then. If this happens, do this. And that's all part of the content authoring capability. We're not completely there yet. There's a case to be made for a much larger kind of production of creating content. That's more of a post-processing that we have to continue to work on.
Okay.
It looks like we're out of time.
Thank you.
We are. Thank you for managing the clock.
Appreciate your time, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great rest
You bet.
of
See
your
you.
Okay, so we're going to have...
Bye-bye.
Bye. We have a few more minutes before we have a pitch from Keto AI, and then we're going to have a break. So a 30-minute break after that. So bear with us for a few more minutes. So I guess while we're waiting for Jeff to hop on, I'll tell you all a little bit about Mercury Fund. So Mercury Fund has been around for quite some time. A lot of y'all are probably very, very familiar. We are a seed to Series A fund based in Houston. We also have an office in Michigan, and we are working on seeing how we can plug more into other cities throughout what we call the Middle America. So we'll invest anywhere except the major coastal hubs, and we're looking to do B2B, B2B2C, and there's a few of our portfolio companies also pitching today, not in our track, but in other tracks as well. So we're looking forward to continuing to help build the Houston ecosystem, and that's Mercury. So guys, oh, Jeff's on. I guess I can talk for longer than I always give myself credit for. Hi, Jeff. Can you hear us?
Now I can. There we go.
Great. Can you share your screen?
I can. Yeah. Give me a second. And go here and
Hopefully you're not showing us anything too private on that screen of yours.
no, I think it'll be good.
Okay, good. Awesome. We can see it in full screen mode now. So you have 5 minutes, and
Great.
I will stop you in 5, and then we'll go to Judge Q&A.
Great. Okay. Super. Well, I'm Jeff Jenson with Keto, and I'm really excited to share with you today how we are scaling the multi-billion-dollar pool care industry. I can't see any of the judges, so I will assume that most of the judges have pools, and if you don't, you should know that pool care is still complicated. Pool care has been the same way for the past 30 years. You have to test the water, dose the water with hazardous chemicals, and fix essentially equipment that breaks down almost every season. And your options for getting help to manage your pool are extremely rigid. And so what do I mean? One option is you can DIY or do it yourself. Of the 10 million residential pools out there today, around 70% of the market wants to DIY. Now, I want to caveat DIY in the sense that most of these people actually go to a pool retail store, get their water tested, get a report, and then get sold chemicals, and they're on their own to basically go take care of it. You'll find some people do go to Amazon and buy the chemicals. We know that the retail market's been super successful because one of the biggest retailers in the space just IPO'd this last year. And it's about a $6 million revenue market, largely driven off chemicals. Now, your other option, if you don't want to drive to the store, get your water tested, you can hire a service professional, which makes about 30% of the market. You'll notice the market size is a lot bigger. The challenge is people struggle with this because finding the right person among thousands of service companies out there is still complicated, and finding, again, the right person who knows how to manage the pool, manage it correctly, is a challenge in itself. And so these people have the same tools that DIYs do, and so we're still stuck with how to manage a pool in a better way and how to find the right option for pool care. So what we're doing is we've created a smart care pool care platform. And it's largely driven from hardware, software, and we're leveraging that pro network to simplify pool care. You could think of this like Uber Eats for your pools, or Mark, I know you know Spruce well. It's very much like a Spruce model. And our goal is to basically save a pool owner the time based on simplified maintenance and routine. We obviously want to have clear water and clear insights about what's going on in the pool. And for the first time, we want to give pool owners a flexibility around getting services that they need, getting the help that they need when they need it. And that's not available today. So how does it work? We essentially take our patent pending hardware technology, and the pool owner has a simple smart app on their phone. They're able to see the health of their pool in real time. That includes chemistry as well as equipment. They also have the ability to schedule services and chat with real-time pool pros as they need. We also then have built kind of the Uber driver app of the equation on the service side, where they're able to monitor the customer's pool, and they have service software so that they can handle the dynamic conditions of people asking for schedules and other things. And so we've partnered with some of the top service providers in the nation to help deliver this model. Venture here in Houston and Spartan nationally as a top 50 service provider. And why they want to work with us is because we're actually increasing their customer base. So again, they're going after kind of these DIYs that need the help, and we're increasing their revenue. So we have hundreds of happy paying customers today that are running on this model. We think we're uniquely positioned because most of our competitors are either going after one side of the market. The retail guys, and there are some hardware competitors that are strictly focused on DIY, but they don't address getting help when you need it, having chemicals delivered, etc. On the flip side, you have service efficiency software, which help the service pro, but don't really help them grow beyond their current capabilities. And so we think we're joining the market and really creating the future of a new mass market in the pool care industry. We have the perfect team. I'm a former startup CTO. I have a PhD in electrical engineering. Done 2 startups here in Houston. Felipe's a Rice MBA, and Andrew's the fantastic guy who's seen create the hardware that we have, and we're surrounded by an awesome team where we've worked together for 5 years, and we've been noted as having a top product in the space and backed by notable cloud providers, and we hope that you'll join us in scaling the future of pool care. On the dot. Questions?
What's the basis on which the customer pays? Is it a la carte, or is it a monthly fee, or?
Yeah, it's a subscription model. There's a base fee for having the devices and access to the network, and then they also then pay a la carte for services, chemicals delivered, fixes, etc. And we take a transaction percentage of that fee through the platform.
So is most of your revenue expected to come from the subscription, or from the subscription only services?
The base subscription is what we're seeing so far in the market. Mm-hmm.
And how much is that per month, or whatever?
I'd be happy to share with you offline. I think we are going into the next season, and we're at least 4 getting to 5-digit figures on growing that, the transaction revenue.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of your sales channels, what portion of that is sort of direct sales versus working with these, pool services companies?
Right. Yeah, our channel is largely that Service Pro and the industry magazines. A lot of these companies and people are not really on LinkedIn, and so we've really focused on acquiring key partnerships, scalable partnerships where they're noted in the industry in different geographies, etc. So not really going after those little guys. We're going after like the bigger service companies through that channel.
Jeff, good to see you.
Hey, Mark.
Glad you're doing well.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit, just following up on Milad's question, a little bit about the sales cycles when you're selling to, I guess, the top 20% of those pool service companies? How long does it take you to close a contract with them? And when sort of what is your expected revenue related to any customer?
Great. So for us, it takes around 30 to 60 days so far as our track record of going and finding a right service company through either industry magazines or if they see us elsewhere. And we have a strict vetting process. We really want to maintain the quality, right, and make sure that the service provider is not one of these splash and dash, as we would call it in the industry. And so from there, then we set up a larger contract for what volume they would like to do, kind of the customer base they'd like to acquire, and then set the marketing budget and the based on the partnership about the region and kind of their current size, but essentially lock them in for like full season contracts is where we're at.
Okay.
Are you operating nationally, or have you done regional approach?
We are. We're in the, so most of the pools in the U.S. are in 4 key states, Texas, Florida, California, Arizona. We have partnerships with companies in at least 3 out of 4 of those states. And then we have other partners I didn't list on the slide just for confidentiality reasons that are operating in 12 different geographies of the major cities.
But like in Texas, you cover even small towns, or are you limited to the bigger areas?
It's mainly, yeah, that's a great question. It's mainly Houston, Austin, Dallas is where we're at right now, because that's the majority of the pool base in Texas. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe I missed this, but just to get a sense of stage, when was the company founded, and kind of how big is your team today?
Great. So we were founded back in 2018. I actually knew Mark from a couple years ago, so hopefully you see some progress, Mark, in development. We are currently 7 full-time people. We are post-revenue, and in terms of fundraising, we're probably, you would describe somewhere in between C and a Series A type of like revenue and what we're trying to raise.
Are you raising now or not?
We are. We'll kick off formal fundraise really close to the end of March is what we're targeting. So we're using the current funds we have to break in. Our business is a bit seasonal, as you could imagine. And so we're trying to finish bolstering subscribers and revenue to get the most advantageous valuation that we can in our next round.
So it's not a typical marketplace deal, right? Because you're only allowing graded, partners on. Are there other marketplace competitors that are doing a similar thing?
There's no marketplace. There's no app you can download today. The only thing you could do would be Thumbtack, but there's not a large service provider network of folks that are subscribed through, let's say, Thumbtack. So we are right now the only one that's offering that.
Guys, they have about 1 minute and 45 seconds.
So Jeff, who would be, well, I guess, what do you think when you think about, from an investor standpoint, exit opportunities for the company? I mean, who would you think is your plan to IPO the company, to sell it? And if it's the latter, what kind of buyers would they be?
We think there's a couple of great acquirers, both in the space and outside. Within the space, Pool Corp is a publicly traded company. I think they're close to either somewhere between 12 to 15 billion market cap, as well as obviously Leslie's that IPO'd last year, where you could see this model being extremely disruptive to what they're trying to achieve, right, with their retail presence. We think those are in-space exits. If the company is able to really achieve kind of the national scale I want it to, we think people like Depot or Lowe's, who obviously can provide chemicals, have a service provider network, would see the value of our network effect and look to make a move because they haven't broken into the space yet.
And what are you seeing in terms of metrics, like LTV, CAC, churn, or is it a bit kind of too early to start defining those?
It's a little bit early. If you wanted to follow up, I could share like digital presence, LTV we've seen. I mean, we came to market publicly selling and partnering just last February. So it's when we kind of took off. So I wouldn't want to give you big scale numbers and have it be false after this season. So.
No, appreciate that.
10 seconds.
Do you have, Jeff, do you have any key hires that you need to make?
Yeah, we're missing a key marketing person. We're actually going to relaunch and rebrand. We've finished rebranding, but we need a key strategic marketing person on the team. And we've been looking for that for a couple months now. So,
great.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, so judges, please do not log off, but everyone else, you have a 30-minute break. So judges will go to another room and discuss quickly, and we'll see everyone else back here in 30 minutes.